Welcome to the Leadership Spark podcast, where we equip you to be the great leader your people deserve. This is Corey, and we're continuing our conversation about the power of insights for a leader. If you were listening in yesterday, we started to pivot towards how you can use insights to individually lead the people that work for you or that you work with to be able to create an environment that allows them to bring their very best. And we talked about there are a few aspects of our personality that are unique to us that if we knew this about the other person that we're working with, or if people knew this about us, then they could change the way they lead to lead in a personal, unique way, because everyone is different. Everyone cannot be led the same way. One leadership style doesn't work for everyone. And if we assume everyone views the world the same way that we do, we're in for a rude awakening, because they don't. And we'll have friction when it comes to leading other people. And so yesterday we talked about two aspects, which are motivation and fear. And today we're going to talk about communication, because people like to be communicated to and like to communicate in a very unique style. Not everyone likes communication the same way. You may have someone on your team who likes communication to be very direct and straight to the point. You may have another person on your team who likes to get the narrative and they want to understand the context, and you have to tell the story for them to really be able to grasp what you're trying to communicate to them. And there's a wide variety of ways that people like to communicate and like to be communicated with. And an example for me is that when I like to be communicated with more in bullet points. And so I like the bullet points. I don't necessarily need the context, the full context of something. Of course, I want that to be able to understand and make wise decisions. But I like the direct feedback. I like the bullet point approach versus the narrative approach when it comes to communication. But not everybody's like that. My wife isn't like that. She processes externally. And so when she's communicating, the way she likes to communicate is to process externally and kind of unpack it as she is verbally communicating. And so I have to learn, okay, that is a communication style, and I need to adapt what I want and what I expect and how I engage based on how she likes to communicate. And so the same thing is true with people on your team, is that they have a communication style. They have a style that they like to be communicated with as well as from you as a leader. And the only way to understand that is to engage and ask those questions like we talked about yesterday, is to get the information from them individually, whether that's from a conversation with them or some assessment or information that you're using about them, to help you understand the unique way that they like to be communicated with and they like to communicate, so that you can take that insight and you can learn something new and have a different level of awareness that you then allow to help you adapt the way that you would communicate with them, or that you would listen to them as they communicate with you. And so the go and do is that. The go and do is the people that you work with, dive in and unpack how do they like to communicate and how do they like you to communicate with them, that ultimately resonates with them the most and drives the outcome that both of you want whenever you communicate in the first place. And so that's your go and do. Go learn about how other people like to communicate, and then choose to adapt your leadership style based on what you learn.